This is the SciPy plenary tool session. It's basically for both new and established projects to give updates, introduce themselves, and generally have like community highlights. So first up, we're going to have Martha Cryan representing Jupyter, and followed by that will be UV Panda for 2I2C.
Hi everyone, I'm representing Project Jupyter today. My name is Martha, and I'm a software engineer based in Austin. I work for IBM and contribute to Jupyter Lab. Oh.
Can you move on, keep talking, and I will try to catch up with the slides when you're...
Okay. First, we wanted to recognize the global community of contributors for Project Jupyter. We especially want to call out and highlight the latest cohort of distinguished contributors who were announced in March of this year. Your contributions are what keep all of this running, so thank you. The Jupyter Lab team has been working on real-time collaboration for some time now. If you want to try it out, it's currently available in beta in Jupyter Lab 3, and it will be included in the official release for Jupyter Lab 4. The pre-release for that is installable today. Jupyter Hub 2.0 introduced permission roles and scopes for easier permission. Jupyter Hub 2.0 introduced permission roles and scopes for easier permission management last December, and the 2.0 release of Zero to Jupyter Hub on Kubernetes is coming soon, which upgrades to Jupyter Hub 2.0. The Jupyter server team is adding multi-user support in the upcoming 2.0 release, including identity, permissions, and an event system to allow for better collaboration on a single server. For example, Jupyter Hub can use this to provide read-only access to user servers. A change that's years in the making is the new proposed governance model, which is currently public on GitHub and is in the final stages of discussion and voting. We want to highlight that 2 new sub-projects were created as a part of this process: accessibility and security. We look forward to seeing future improvements in these areas across all Jupyter software. Project Jupyter is a global community that primarily thrives through online collaboration. However, over the years, we've hosted various high-impact in-person gatherings. The 3rd round of Jupyter community workshops are in progress, and round 4 announcements will be made next week. If anyone here is interested in leading a Jupyter community workshop, please visit the NumFocus booth to speak to the Jupyter community event manager, Gail Allington. We're also actively planning our user conference, JupyterCon 2023. Follow us on Twitter at JupyterCon. And finally, community calls are happening every month to showcase new projects in the community. So that's a great way to get to see what exciting new work is popping up around the community, and anyone is welcome to come. As you can, okay, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much for that update, Martha. Now we have UV Panda representing 2I2C, followed by Gregory Lee representing Scikit-image.
Okay. Hi. Okay. My name is UV. I work at 2I2C, which is a nonprofit that provides Jupyter Hub and DAS to educational and research institutions like University of Toronto, Callisto, NeuroHack Week, etc. We're a nonprofit, so we're trying to bring like the successful philosophies of producing open source software into sustainably running hosted open infrastructure. So it's still the early days, so we're trying to like distill our like current and prior experiences with things like running Binder, Wikimedia, and whatnot from our team into a set of principles for sustainably running open infrastructure for science and education, in a way that is not like purity tested, right? Is actually sustainable to the people running it, to the people who make the upstream software, and also is valid to the user. So the first is we have a document called Right to Replicate. It means we run fully open source upstream software, but also that it is run in such a way that the users can take the whole infrastructure and leave whenever it is that they want. So no lock-in, and it also sort of like puts restrictions on us so users can have rights. We're also trying to build a right to participate because the tools we use, like shape us, right? And so it is a necessity that we are able to shape the tools that we use. We don't entirely know what this looks like in a hosted software world, right? Like you can always, of course, contribute to things when you download and install them or run the infrastructure yourself. But when you don't want to do it, how do you make sure you don't fall into the pattern of like, the traditional producer consumer where, like, oh yeah, those are the people who give that to us. We may give you suggestions, but we don't really have a real say in how the tools that we use are set up. So we're trying to figure that out. So if you're interested in talking about that, or like in this general space of like, I want to do my science, I don't want to like run infrastructure, but I also don't want to cede control, outside of the community, please come talk to me, or you can email us at the email that's up there. So thank you.
That's great that we found him
Yeah,
too.
that's right. Thank you very much for that, UV. Now we'll have Joe Hammond presenting on Xarray, followed by Ryan May presenting on MetPy.
Great. Okay. Hi, everyone. Joe Hammond. I'm going to talk about what's going on with the Xarray and all that. So what's Xarray really quickly? It's a Python package that does in-dimensional arrays, data sets, and metadata. You can kind of think of it as a flexible data model and toolkit for working with scientific data. You can also think of it as NumPy with labels or in-dimensional pandas. You can see the kind of different syntax for how you might do a time selection between Xarray and NumPy here. So a couple years ago here at SciPy, a few of the developers on Xarray worked on a roadmap, and this is some of the main points out of that roadmap. Basically, we're making it a more flexible package for doing domain-specific scientific computing. And I'm going to talk about a few of the key advancements in the last year. So the big one is flexible indexes, basically the ability to develop complex index objects, like a KD tree index across multiple coordinates. That work was done by Benoit Bovy. We also rolled out a new flexible storage backends interface. You can plug in new storage backends via entry points. And so you just provide the engine keyword argument to open data set, and you can bring in a custom data format. We're still working on writable backends. That's coming later. Tom Nicholas is working on a new data structure called data tree. This is a dict-like structure of data array objects, so think groups of data sets. Anderson Bonahirwe worked on the new front end, xarray.dev, check it out. And there's a bunch of third-party packages in the ecosystem, and I'll leave these up here while they kick me off the stage. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, we are very pressed on time. So now we have Greg Lee representing Scikit-image, followed by Ryan May representing MetPy.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, just going to give a few updates over the last year or so. New things at Scikit-image. Shown on this slide are the scale invariant feature transform, which is a popular feature matching tool that came out of patent recently, so we've added that to the library. And the other image here is a pixel graph algorithm for finding a centroid that is constrained to fall onto the locations of the foreground pixels. So other highlights in the 019 release from about, is released about 6 months ago. We have now a perceptual blur metric for estimating the level of blur in an image. In terms of computations, formerly all floating point computations got promoted to double precision, which has a memory and performance overhead. So now we do preserve float 32 when that is input. On the API side, the biggest change was our multi-channel argument has now been deprecated, and we're using a channel axis instead. So if, for instance, you had channels along the first axis of your array, you could now specify that with channel axis equals 0. And we do now do lazy loading of submodules, so the import time of the package is reduced. And we have also some new biological gallery examples and provide wheels for Python 3.10 and Apple ARM64 support. One thing I want to highlight and ask for some community feedback on are our recent Scikit-image improvement proposals. We had one announced last year that we have now formally rejected, and we've gone with a new approach of releasing under SK-image2 package name. So this will have a limited number of breaking API changes, and we didn't want to disrupt existing scientific codes, and so we are going to rename the package SK-image2 in the future, and we have a proposal for that that is up on our website, and would appreciate any feedback regarding it. So upcoming features that have been recently merged or not yet in release are some number of performance improvements across the library for things like morphology, edge detection, some of our thresholding algorithms. And we're working on, resolving some rough edges in the API that have caused user confusion over the years, and that's a lot of the motivation for this SK-image2 proposal I mentioned. Post 2.0, we are planning to eventually have support for backends through kind of like the Array API support for that, but in large part we have a lot of compiled code that is not enough on its own, so we need some kind of dispatching mechanism. So we have a prototype for that up in the link at the bottom here. Finally, I just want to acknowledge our funding from CZI under the Cycle 3 grant. Juan has a new proposal in for Cycle 5 related to improving typing for the library. And we are doing community calls on a weekly basis now. And just want to mention we'll sprint on Saturday if anyone wants to participate. Thanks.
Thank you. Now we have Ryan May representing MetPy, followed by Aaron Muir representing SymPy.
All right, thank you. So I'm here talking about MetPy. We're a Python toolkit for basically making weather maps, reading data, doing calculations, and plotting our strange different visualizations for meteorology. So in the past year, we had 3 different releases. We've also tried to move towards a more frequent update schedule, going to about every 2-month releases. Some of the features in there, more calculations, and updating what we call our simplified plotting interface, which is trying to make matplotlib plots more declarative and make it simpler for people to get base plots put together. We also have updated our GitHub Actions infrastructure substantially, doing things like nightly builds that open issues and having actions to backport PRs to bug fix branches automatically. Last year, we also picked up some new funding from the National Science Foundation that's going to help fund our work on performance, developing a benchmark suite, enhancing our Dask support, and working on performance improvements, addressing bottlenecks using Python. And so that's where we are, a lot of work on performance, and continuing to make pretty pictures like the ones you see on the slide up there. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Now we have Aaron Muir representing SymPy, followed by Anessa Pawson representing the Contributor Experience Lead team.
Hi, I'm Aaron here. Here's some updates for the SymPy library. For those of you who don't know, SymPy is a Python library for doing symbolic mathematics. So some examples of that here on the screen, computing things, integrals, solving equations, pretty wide range of features. SymPy 111 release is going to be coming very soon, hopefully sometime in the next few weeks. some of the changes. We have a new Sphinx theme, the Furo theme, so our documentation will be much easier to navigate now. In addition to that, we have a new overall top-level organization in our documentation. There's a new plotting submodule, which actually I think might not make it to this release, but we do have a new rewritten plotting module, which will be coming very soon. We now have JAX support in Lambdafy, and there's also hundreds of various improvements and bug fixes. So if you're interested, I encourage you to look at our release notes. We have recently secured some funding from CZI. So I myself, Oscar Benjamin, and Sam Brocky, who is here, will be working on different things. I'm working on improving the documentation, writing new documentation. So if you have any suggestions, please let me know. Oscar is going to be working on improving the performance, and Sam Brocky will be working as a postdoc at Jason Moore's lab at TU Delft. He's going to be working on code generation. Additionally, we have a Season of Docs technical writer, who's Jeremy Monat, who's been improving our documentation, writing new guides for SymPy solvers. We have 3 Google Summer Code students this year. Timo Sinestra is going to be improving classical mechanics, extending the construction of systems from bodies and joints. Advet Pote, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names, I don't actually know how they're supposed to be pronounced, is extending the continuum mechanics module. Anutash Bhatt is going to be improving the series expansion module. And I don't have a slide for it, but we do have a SymPy BOF this afternoon, so if you are a user of SymPy or want to discuss it, come and talk to me. And I'll also be at the sprints.
Awesome, thank you. Next up, we have Inessa Pawson representing the Contributor Experience Lead team.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Inessa Pawson. I'm the NumPy Contributor Experience Lead, and I would like to introduce my team. In mid-2021, Chan Zuckerberg Initiative issued a grant to NumPy, SciPy, Matplotlib, and Pandas to support the onboarding, inclusion, and retention of contributors from underrepresented groups and promote and advance inclusive culture in the SciPy ecosystem. The lack of diverse representation among contributors and maintainers of open source projects has been a concern for the SciPy community for some time. However, chronic lack of resources hindered projects to focus on exploring possible barriers of entry for contributors from underrepresented groups and addressing identified challenges. With the funding from CZI, the 4 foundational libraries in the SciPy ecosystem created a new role for each project, Contributor Experience Lead. And our sole focus is building spaces where everyone can thrive. So I'd like to introduce the Contributor Experience Lead team. Melissa Mendonça is the grant lead and the SciPy Contributor Experience Lead. Noah Tamir is the Contributor Experience Lead for Matplotlib and Pandas, and myself for NumPy. And if you would like to learn more about our work, please reach out anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Inessa. Next up, we have Mridul Seth, representing NetworkX.
Hello, everyone. So people who don't know about NetworkX, it's the network analysis or graph theory library in Python. We are going to have a 3.0 release later this fall. Not too drastic API changes, and if you have not been paying attention to the deprecations warning, please do. A lot of things have been removed, and we have cleared up a lot of old technical debt. And on the performance side, we have been like discussing this a lot with the Python GraphBlast people, and hopefully in the future, if certain algorithms that can be implemented in a faster way in linear algebra, we'll start using those implementations, and this will also lay the groundwork of maybe sometime in the future a multi-backend API dispatch system where you can use the friendly NetworkX API and you can dispatch it to GPUs or things like that. And on the mentorship front, we have had great experience with GSOC and now Trichi. Our GSOC students are co-developers now. I did my GSOC with NetworkX in 2015, and now I'm mentoring some of them, so life has come a full circle. And we are also working on this new project called NetworkX Guides. It's a set of Jupyter notebooks, and it's about long-form narrative documentation, so feel free to contribute to that. And a lot of this was funded through CZI, so thanks for that, and come sprint with us.
Thank you. Now we have Kyle Niemeyer representing the Journal of Open Source Software.
Hi, everyone. I'm one of the associate editors-in-chief of JOS, the Journal of Open Source Software. We've been pretty active in the SciPy community since we started 7 years ago. If you aren't familiar, it's a developer-friendly academic journal for publishing research software packages. I don't have that much time, so if you would like to learn more, feel free to ask questions in Slack or find me afterwards. I'll just say that the state of the JOS is strong. We've been growing significantly. We publish around 1 paper a day. We've got something like 1,600 papers accepted as of last week, with hundreds more under review, and we get more all the time. We have something in the range of 60 plus editors. We're constantly looking for new. We actually have a publicized call out right now for new editors in the Astro community, so if you're interested in that, I'll post the link in Slack. Some just quick updates. We've recently redone our infrastructure and tooling. With Editorial Bot is our new helper bot. It does everything for us. We're also in the process of moving to a track system where we have these topical areas with an editor-in-chief or associate editor-in-chief responsible for each one, and then a number of editors who are working in one or more areas. So if you have questions or would like to learn more about how to submit your work to JOS, just feel free to reach out to me. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you all for bearing through us with all of those technical difficulties. We will now have about a 14-minute break until 10:45 a.m. There will be snacks served outside. And make sure to find the rooms for the next talk you'd like to go to